Hi and welcome to the At the Wheel channel. This is a bit of a different video. Today we have our at the wheel, I suppose, R50 2006 Mini Cooper, not the John Cooper Works one sadly, but anyway, it's the Park Lane edition, and it has a bit of an issue with its steering. Specifically, the symptoms are when you're at a standstill, just like this. When you are doing dry steering, the wheels sort of skip, they jump rather than just drag, and that gets translated into the steering wheel, which you might be able to hear. If not, then I'll cut this bit out, but let's have a quick go. That sort of bumpiness is something that you very much feel through the wheel, and well, that could just be, you know, the road surface and the tires just skipping slightly as they turn, especially while dry steering. It actually has a second symptom, which is when you are driving, even at a slow speed, if you rock the steering wheel back and forward, you can even feel it while it's stationary, you feel a sort of notchiness as you start turning, and if you know, when you turn back, you can feel a bit of a sort of bump. Now, there are plenty of bits of effectively rubber between here and the wheels, which do dampen both vibrations and can also dampen movements, and so it can be a bit more like a sort of, you're twisting a bit of rubber and then it goes, but this feels a lot more like there is sort of a loose surface and you're hitting up against one way, then hitting it back on the other as you turn back. And that sort of motion isn't translated to the wheels at all. Like, while you're driving, you can be doing this and there's, you know, no change in your road position. And even more so, it actually doesn't track quite straight. So it can be a little, I guess, difficult to hold it in lane and in position. And so what we're going to do is jack the car up, take a look at the tie rod ends first, the bits that connect your steering rack to the wheels to turn them. If those ball joints are all good, we'll also check the power steering pump and the steering column just to make sure that there's nothing wrong there. And failing all of that, we'll take a look at the power steering rack, which, if that's the problem, it's unlikely I'm going to be fixing that one today or in this video, but well, let's at least try and work out what's up first. Now, I need to jack the car up. Unfortunately, my jack is too tall for this jack stand. It just doesn't really fit under. It doesn't reach the jacking point anyway, so I designed, and well, I say designed, I built this little ramp, which is quite handy. It's just a piece of, two pieces of 18mm ply and two, well, I guess they're like 3x2s, or I think that's the sticker there if you're interested specifically, but it just fits under the wheel. And I generally put the wheel on one edge just so that as much of the weight is supported directly down by the sort of spar rather than by the sheet, but we've had it in the middle and it's fine. So I just need to roll the old wheel up onto it, and that gives me enough clearance. Let's go. There we go. Much easier. Right. Right, I don't want to lift the wheel quite off the ground yet because I want to loosen the bolts. I know that I do have an impact and I do use it sometimes, but sometimes doing it by hand is just a better feel and less noisy. Oh, and you know, I need the exercise. Oh, oh, okay. Now, for safety's sake, stick this in here and, you know, gets out of the way. So this is our tower end. This is what connects our steering rack back there to the steering knuckle, or the sort of, well, knuckle, the what do they call them, hub, whatever, via this ball joint here. This ball joint is the sort of failure point for these tower ends. You know, if you have an impact, you might bend them, but in terms of general wear and tear, that ball joint there is what sort of fails, wears out. And the good news is that the rubber seal over the ball joint looks in reasonable condition. It's not firm or cracked. It doesn't look like it's got all that much grease in it. It doesn't feel like it's got much grease in it, which is normally a bad sign, but it doesn't feel torn, which is a good start. I'm happy that there's no vertical play, as it were. So let's take a look at the bushings all around. I think I'll start with the one at the back. You might not be able to see this one, so I might have to pause and hold the camera instead. Right, that's the rear facing bushing, and at least from what I can see it looks okay. I'll probably have to review this footage in a second just to make absolutely sure, but it looks okay. There's no cracking on the outer edge, which looks nice. And maybe I'll come at it from the back as well. Let's get some light in there. Where are we at? There. How does that look? I can't really see, so I'm gonna let you tell me in the comments, because I have no idea. What about this one? This looks okay. Looks like there's the seal is sort of almost separating from the thing slightly, but it looks in good nick. Is that the... I forgot, that's how many do this, isn't it? It's weird. They've got one bushing at the back, and then one sort of ball joint up here, and then there's nothing like up the front. Like it's this point, and then the lower ball joint, which actually, lower ball joint actually looks like it has some grease in it, which is nice. That's good. Looks a bit crusty, but the boot doesn't look torn. So, again, could be worse. Yeah. Right, let's check in the engine bay, which is severely tilted over today. Right. You might be able to see that. Well, the good news is that it all looks very clean up here. All of the rubber inside that hole fits. There you go. You can see a bit better. All of the rubber inside here all feels, you know, a little on the stiffer side compared to some fresh, supple stuff, but it also is not cracked, it's not torn, it's not ripped. It all looks and feels still, at least there's a little bit of give there. Right, the good news is I'm not feeling any issues up here. Actually, that's the point, we should check the power steering fluid. Alright, well, good news is that there is at least some in here, and it's up to the first line. It does look nice and clean as well. So I don't think that we're looking at a lack of power steering fluid as such. That's good. What about this top mount? Ah, this top mount is f***ed. That would do it. See that? That is what I call utterly muntered. Okay, well that's a good sign. It means that this is at least one problem point. We still need to inspect a fair bit else to confirm and make 100% sure, but this is kind of a good sign, because it means that I've found something that's wrong rather than going through the whole process and not finding anything that's wrong. So this is bad that it's here, but good that we found it. So let's, I think, stick the other wheel back on and go and inspect this wheel to see how that one is looking for things like tire end and all that jazz. So yeah. Right, let's get this wheel back on. I think besides the turret end being so kind of wobbly back and forward, I'm fairly happy that this is as it should be. and it looks like it's the other side. Also, just to make it clear, I am threading these in by hand, like so that they're at least actually in proper threads a couple turns worth before using the impact. I've dealt with stripped wheel nuts and bolts, and yeah, I've learned that lesson. Oh. There we go. Oh dear, I just realised how bad that's how badly that's utterly ruined. It's actually ruined the whole way around, not just one side. You see that? Oh dear. Haha, okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pop off the cap up the top here. I think I'll straighten the wheel up, but pop the cap off the top and see if I can take that, loosen that nut at all, just to make sure that I can. And then I might try taking these just to see how much clearance and how much play I can get out of this further down, to see if I can get it out, or if I will need to think about loosening this pinch bolt and getting the suspension out of there, which I'd really rather not do if possible. I know it's not an impact socket, blah blah blah. I'll be gentle. Sweet! So there you can see the rusty thing right up the top there is the mount that we're going to be replacing, and then there's actually quite a lot of room around that, which should allow me to manipulate the suspension out of the way, such that I can pull that out without having to have completely removed the shock, hopefully. So we'll see. I'll make it work. That was almost the Thunderbirds theme tune. Don't want to get copyrighted. Now that At the Wheel is monetized, which thank you all the way, by the way, for all subscribing, you lovely people, and watching and viewing. I hope the content is enjoyable, entertaining, informative, or some combination of all three. Let's go the extra mile, as they say. Tesco's finest. As I understand it, this car is fully out, so I'm basically just going to drain the rest of this bottle and then pour the adequate amount of water in as well. Oh yes, there we go. Excellent. Sorted. Right. Let's go order some parts. By the time I got back from Car Parts, the light had completely disappeared, so it was almost pitch black already, and I ended up both having a friend over to give me a hand, and it just took a long time for us to get it actually sorted, so this footage is all a little bit sped up for your convenience. We also didn't end up filming overly well, or overly, capturing the events all too well, so I hope this is reasonable enough. But basically the process was, we removed the nut from the top of the from the top of the bearing, basically, which allows the spring to sort of unseat. The trouble is that with the anti-roll bar linkage connected, you basically can't get that out. There's not enough room for the spring to fully decompress, and therefore allow you to get the bearing, the shock mount out, which you can see has a nice new bit of rubber and a nice new grease-filled bearing as well. But Once you disconnect the anti-roll bar linkage, which we ended up doing by just using my jack to support the bottom of the knuckle or lift it up slightly so that they were even, you can then drop the entire spring and shock assembly down. The spring sort of unseats from the shock itself, and you're generally able to sort of wind that old mount out. When you go to put the new one back in, it's really important that you put the two little washers between the top of the spring seat and that mount. They go in the middle, and that seals the bearing and gives it another rotation surface just to make sure that none of it all binds up. One of them is a cone-shaped sort of washer, and one of them is a thicker flat one. The cone-shaped one, I believe, goes on the bottom, and the flat one goes on the top to help seal the bottom of the bearing. But in terms of getting it all back together, it can be quite a pain. I would highly recommend having a proper set of spring compressors to do this, because as the spring decompresses, it slightly tilts over, which means that the top of the spring seat gets caught on the shock absorber shaft and makes it just, well, quite difficult. You'll also likely want to sort of jack up the knuckle to give it a little bit of pressure and get it close to the top of the spring seat and that new bearing. If you're able to remove the shock absorber itself, the whole thing, then recompress the spring and reattach that new mount all outside of the car, I would generally recommend doing that. It would be a lot easier of a process. Then all you need to do is just lift the whole assembly back up and in and screw those 4 nuts back on. But in our case, we did manage to get it sorted. You can see the new bearing and mount is in place up there, and the nut is at least wound on. When it comes to tightening it, I think you need, I think it was a 6mm Allen in that sort of hole in the end of the shock absorber shaft. That holds the shock absorber shaft in place and so that it won't rotate. And then you need what I think is a 21mm socket with flats on the outside so that you can put a spanner on the outside of the socket to tighten that up. And I think that's around, I want to say 80 Newton meters, as well as the anti-roll bar linkage, which you'll definitely need to reattach with, which I think is about 60 Newton meters. And once those are all in place, of course, tighten down the 3 nuts that hold that top plate on, and then that's kind of it. Of course, you have to sort of put the car back together, which is what we are doing. Of course, torquing the wheel bolts down, which because these are wheel bolts, they get torqued to around 120 Newton meters. And then that's kind of it for this site. So it's a new day, and well, we've already replaced the properly broken mounts. I haven't replaced the other one just yet, although I'm actually sitting in the car ready to do just that. But I thought first I would take a look at the actual problem we were aiming to address and see if it's actually fixed. So let's have a look. The good news really is that that sort of notchiness, the vagueness, the like you can move it one way then the other and it feels like it's, you know, knocking back and forward, that is gone. And so I think that this is going to be a lot better. And the fact that we replaced the very broken part is definitely good necessity. I am still going to replace the other side right now, just to make sure. You're meant to repair them in pairs anyway, so let's go do that. I'm not sure if I'll film that one, but yeah, let's get started. And I want to thank everyone for watching. This has been a bit of a different video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Of course, if you want to see more videos like this one, or the more standard style, or you know, reviews of entire cars themselves and all things in between, feel free to let me know both in the comments and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. I'll leave some more videos on the end cards. I'm not even sure which way. I think they'd be that way still. But anyway, you can check those out. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you all in the next video.